Click the links, join channel here over at SubStars and over at Odyssey. So, first of all, learning how much game journalists hate gamers, that was a trip. You think they would have learned something in 10 years. And also, the environment Gamergate 1.0 was 10 years ago, roughly. And this is not 2.0 because the environment is much different. People know how soy these people are, what partisan bleeding vaginas people who are Kotaku and CBR and whatnot are, and they're just horrible people who are out and out communists who want to destroy everything. And the most serious part of this that's kind of getting overlooked, and I got to do some thinking, I'm going to do a video for the other platforms, is that the government is getting involved, Homeland Security and the FBI, because they're trying to make wrongthink not a crime because they can't, but they're trying to make it something that's actionable as a precursor, like a thought crime that they can open a case on to investigate for a real crime. It's actually really dark Orwellian Big Brother behavior, we're at the point where if the Nina Jankowicz Ministry of Truth, like if you told people decades ago that would happen, they would have laughed at you, that Biden would try to get, or Biden's not pulling, just making any decisions, that his cabinet would try to get a Ministry of Truth going in America. It just would have been inconceivable a few decades ago. It's like, oh yeah, but they actually really tried to do that. Nina Jankowicz is the example. She'll be the one who decides what the truth is. You look at her like, what timeline are we in? This is like, is it 1776 time all over again? The problem with this Orwellian behavior is our government is controlled by anti-white globalists. So if you have the Homeland Security getting involved with games, you're going to experience anarcho-tyranny, which actually some of the J6 people versus the Antifa, the BLM riots of the past 4 years is a good example to see the disparate, the anarcho-tyranny where you in some cities, like, you can't be armed to defend yourself, so only the criminals are armed, but they're not getting prosecuted. But if you, a person of the light, conceal carry in a city like that, they'll prosecute you. It's like the Daniel Penny effect type of thing, where they throw the book at somebody, where they find somebody somebody who's the wrong skin tone. And people hear that and they go, oh, they got to blame the black guy. No, those guys are getting let out or not charged left and right. That's the whole J6 BLM comparison. Anyway, so that's what we're living through now. More on that on the alt platforms. So this is about this black chick being super racist. And there's a racist issue in gaming in general, but as the game journalists circle the wagons to defend these parasites, it's clear that the people who write about games actually hate the gamers. And I don't even know. People say they play the games on easy mode when they review them, and they when they're talking about them, they're making mistakes. And oh god, what was that? That blonde chick who just nuked her whole company, where she was talking about games, and then she goes, I forget her name. She had like Frosk or something. And she she did her little meltdown thing, and she's talking about they have a team of people who prepare the notes for them. So it makes it sound like, so you're not like playing the game and making your own notes, you're just reporting on what other people are talking about. That's friggin' bizarre. It's like, why are you even in this industry at all? So the theory of this, that there was a boom of gaming magazines a few decades ago, and too many journalist majors were coming out of colleges, and there weren't that many places for them to go. So they started writing for these magazines, but like the Anita Sarkeesians of the world, they didn't actually play games, and they hated the people who played them. And a few decades later, the fruit of the poison tree is bearing. And the game industry and game journalism is having some issues. And when I say this is a different environment than 2014, Suppression Quest from Zoe Quinn was 2013, there's way more pushback on this. Like the games journalists and the games and these companies, the Larry Fink funded companies, people are more aware that these people are the enemy. So I actually listened to Carolyn Borisenko talked to Adam Green on Odyssey Live today, and she broke down the left in general pretty well, but it applies to these people In fact, if you want to go find Adam Green's channel, it was this morning's live stream, and it's actually something that's worth listening to and kind of taking notes. She goes through like the Frankfurt School and the what do you call it, the Alinsky method of the left, and then you look at these people and go, oh, they're just kind of going through this checklist. It's like the BLM girl going, we're trained Marxists. Like, hey, at least I was going to say they're useful idiots, but some of the BLM women actually did get some homes out of that. It's like, so is anyone going to investigate that? Oh, you sweet summer child. No, seriously, nobody is going to investigate that? Like, I mean, if the media gets the ball rolling on those, the BLM money, the embezzlement and outright fraud, they bought personal property with it, then the government would jump on board. It's like, it's been a year or two since that happened. Is anyone? Like, just crickets. Nobody's going to investigate BLM. Anyway, the thing is, a lot of the left actually is anti-white and does want to destroy everything. There are these brainwashed, useful idiots who think that they're going to replace this system with a mixed-race communist system and it'll be an improvement. And you go, there's actually quite a long history of a track record through various countries across the world where that has been tried, and it has resulted in the world's best diet plan. Sometimes they lose all the weight. The thing is, that track record, it says otherwise, but it doesn't predict. It doesn't fit their predictive dialectic. They want it to be true, so it must be true. Anyway, so games journalists are defending Sweet Baby, somebody pointed out the Sweet Baby. This is related. They have the insignia has that symbol of like it's not a it's a spiral within a spiral symbol, and it represents a prurient interest in those under the age of majority. So they're defending Sweet Baby, and how this started was they attacked a Brazilian who used public information to list the games that SBI worked on. That shouldn't be a problem, right? You should be proud of being associated with this game. They're like, hey, this is the game that Sweet Baby improved. And that way, let the player make an informed decision. And if you're a left-wing woke soy jack, you're going to buy those games because you enjoy propaganda. And if you're a normal Chad, you're going to stay far away from those games. And the thing is, like, you can use it as a shortcut. If you know the company was involved with the games, and the games are not going to be your cup of tea because they're woke, propaganda. So that's the usefulness of the list. And like, wouldn't you want the players to be informed? So the players learned that SBI was woke and made the games diverse, lame, and feminist, all things that we consider cancer, and they chose not to play them. And the left wing absolutely lost their mind because games are propaganda to them. Everything is propaganda to them because they're accelerating this communist revolution, so they have to do things as fast as possible before if the right ever kind of awakens and dons the Hugo Boss and starts a pushback. So they're trying to accelerate things, and it's really the left push is kind of sluggish because there's just not a lot of energy behind it. Because God, it has such a long failure rate, and there's more pushback now than if they had started this in 2014 or something. The thing is, they really don't believe that the player should be informed. They think that they should not be making their own decisions. And the problem with them is if you give the player choice where you make, and you tell them what Sweet Baby is involved in, and you make games that are these, majority of them are going to have this woke race swap propaganda. But if a game company came out with games that weren't woke, well, they'd sell really well. Well, same with movies and same with comics and all kinds of pop culture. Well, that's where Blackrock, State Street, Vanguard come in with the Larry Finks of the world, because they have such control over so many industries with their investment funds that they can make broad sweeping decisions with their their Alinsky methods of diversity, inclusion, and equity, so they can force companies to hire these Sweet Baby type of things. So that's where the BlackRock thing was making its connection. People go, oh, that's istophobic. You go, but it is connected. So your argument can't be that the truth is istophobic, because all you're doing is silencing people by raising this shield, which is it's a whole another fascinating Marxist method of, they created these shields like 100 years ago, and they got them into the, I don't know, what do you call it, the the public lexicon. They got them into the public consciousness. And then when they, like sleeper agents, all these hot word shields, and it literally, it's like Bernstein's from 100 years ago, over 100 years ago. And they slowly got them spread throughout universities and the media, got people to accept the concept. And then when they needed to raise the shields because they were doing something horrible, they did horrible things, and then they raised the shields to hide behind them. And said, oh, you can't criticize it because it's istophobic. The thing is, now people are at the point of going, yeah, we don't care anymore, which is freaking awesome, because now the left wing is really losing their minds. So let's take a look at her exact quote. So that black chick is a narrative designer employed by EA, which is subsidiary Cliffhanger Games, has admitted to discriminatory hiring practices. Dana Lalanders was working on the upcoming Black Panther, revealed during the 2021 Game Developers of Color Expo. Well, here, I got into this. This is why I had to make this video twice. Dear people of the light, people look like me and you. You're going to have to wash off all this propaganda BS about stop trying to divide us and the left are the real istophobes. You're going to have to wash all that off and just kind of go game theory 101 and start having your own in-group preferences to start having clubs and organizations for you and your tribe, just like all other tribes have. That if all other groups act within group preferences to advance their own interests, you have no choice. You have to do it. That's the lowest common denominator theory of game theory. And where she openly admitted, she intentionally avoided hiring people of European descent for her game out of a stated desire to create a safe environment. We have no white people on our team. I did that because I wanted to create a safe environment. I know the best way for an environment to be safe is to be around people who are just like me. Total agreement in your right to free association. But this also you have to substitute out white for all the other groups. Because she's allowed to do this, it is what it is. How do I say that? They go, oh my God, this lady's who was employed by Disney, one of the bigger companies, is like they're totally accepting this anti-white racism. Yeah, that's what's happening right now. You're not going to talk to a lady like this and convince her that she's the problem. She doesn't see it that way. You're just going to have to cut ties with people like this and let them do their own thing and not support them and have your own in-group preferences. And if you woke up, you could crush these companies overnight. I'm not talking about these little fake, boycotts. I mean something like super hardcore where you could actually put a company out of business within a year, but you have to have groups and structure and network, to do it. You can't do it as individuals. You have to form groups within group preferences. And there's the controlled ops types on the pseudo right, the libs of TikTok, who are kind of doing their things. And that's kind of a whole nother video. And the problem with a lot of this is the platforms won't allow you to discuss it because it has too many hot words, and the algorithm doesn't know how you're using those hot words. It just picks it up and gets you in trouble. Anyway, you don't have to, definitely don't support any of these people. These people hate you. I mean, they're openly telling you, like the right has to stop trying to divide us crowds. Like, you're already divided. That ship has sailed. These people openly hate you based on your ethnicity, based on your countries of origin. I'm not saying it's okay. How you feel about them is up to you, but you can't support them or the companies they work for, which in this case is EA Games, and the other one, Cliffhanger and Disney. This is all much more serious than I think people want to admit to. They just kind of have their head in the sands for a lot of this kind of stuff. And that's, the longer you do that, the worse things get. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next episode.